All right, so starting out with trying to change the emergency brake cable. This little guy here broke off. This sticks out the side. I don't know if it was threaded in here, pushed in here, but I couldn't do anything to get it out. So I had to go buy first of all, I drilled out the part that was broken in there. I went and bought a bolt and a tap. And I ended up tapping that and then just cutting the head of the bolt off and grinding it down to mimic kind of what was there. Just like so. And I can grind it more if I need. And then when I get it in place, I'll put a little bit of Loctite so it doesn't move around. So I think that's gonna work. I got the cable on order. Other than that, it's been a frustrating day. I undid my back part of the emergency brake right here. This is about mid pickup, and that was rusted in there, so that, like everything, had to be heated and beat on, but I got it out. Moving to the back, I got these are the inner side panels that kind of go right in there, and they're pretty rusty, not gonna lie, but I think they're gonna be fine. There's no rust holes that I can see, but I mean, certainly I don't want them to go through this winter getting wet and salt on them, or there'll probably be nothing left. So I got those out. I got that one out. This one's maybe a little bit more crusty, but still no holes. So I think they're gonna be fine and usable. I got the spare tire jack out. I was just gonna leave it alone and walk away from it, but if you watched the last video, it took me quite a while just to get the spare tire out because this was doing nothing. So then I went to jack it back up and it wouldn't. So I took it out, pounded this sucker out of there, and I'm probably gonna soak it. I can get another one, but they're kind of expensive. I might try to find one at a wrecking yard, but I don't know. I think if I soak it and grease it up, it might be fine. And then these are the brackets. Get them in the shade there that the spare tire goes up against. Finally got this beastly thing out. Once again, I had to break most of the bolts and still can't get this out. That's kind of the last thing that I got to beat out and maybe try to heat it. What I'm trying to do, and I've kind of achieved it, is I'm just trying to strip out what I can underneath so that I can get up in here, for instance, and wire wheel or something, sandblast all this metal and get it primed, and also be able to get up in there and sandblast it and prime it. I just noticed on my shocks that is rusted through. That's pretty crunchy. Other ones the same way up there. So all this I want to just sandblast or do something, hit it with primer and paint up in there. Like nothing's rusted through yet, but it's not that far off from doing so. So the other day I noticed on this rim some oil. You can kind of see it all the way back in there. And the other one is clean. So I decided to check the little breather that goes right here. And this thing was completely and utterly clogged. That took me forever to clean it up. But you know, you should probably check these. What happens if they get clogged is as the pressure builds up inside from heating up it'll blow your seals, which I think is probably what might have happened there. So we got that cleaned. We'll get it put back in here. And then I think I'm gonna grab my grease gun and grease all the little Zerk fittings. I'm sure that hasn't been done forever in a day. So yeah, guys, don't overlook the small stuff like this. All right, guys, I picked up this pickup bed, $200. It's in pretty rough shape. They cut out the fender wells, bent the tabs over. Probably had these ugly ass bushwhacking things on there. Every single panel is dented, but coincidentally not rusted. This part in here that I need, right in this area here, is dented in. Of course, that part is dented in. Now that part there on mine's actually in better shape. It's dented as well, but this one here, if you look close, definite crease, definite crease. What I might do is play around with that and see how well I can get it out, pound it out, and I might still try to use it. This side over here is no exception. And unfortunately, this side's really bad. Really bad. But I don't know. Question is can I somewhat, I mean, I know I got to use some Bondo, but can I get that pretty close? Also, the profile, I don't know if you can see, but that's kind of all dented in. And for the sake of $200, if I can find metal to repair, I mean, look at that. All that light colored stuff is Bondo. And you can just see how thick it is up in here, the Bondo. Barely hit that. That's all Bondo. You know, that's all pinholes in there. Pinhole popping through there. So the problem with mine is they're pretty damn rusted. Believe it or not, those are dented, but no rust. If you look at here, I've already pointed it out. All the pinholes, it's just loaded. That would be more pinholes. So that's the donor. Also the same guy. I managed to get this panel, which goes on the inside of the tailgate. So that was another hard find. It's not perfect. It's got dents in it as well, but I think I can straighten those out easy enough. But other than the abuse they put this through and cut out the wheel wells and dented every single panel, it should have been in great shape. Absolutely rust free. But it's gonna be a while before I get to it. I was doing some other maintenance. I've never checked the air filter. So this all came out of the air filter. This is only like part of it. But the whole canister of my air filter was full of this. So I'm curious just to see. There's some dog hair in there. Some paper and grass. I'm curious to see how well it runs now. So that's it. Quick update. So I was just recording that last part of the video, and the mailman went by. That's what the dogs were barking for. And I got my new light. My dome light has not been working. Here is the original. And I'm getting power to the plug, but this last terminal here was separated, and I tried to solder it. Made a damn mess out of it. But even when I did successfully solder it, I could not get this to work. So we'll put this new one on. And yes, maybe it was the bulb, but the bulb does not look burnt. The filament was still good and all, so let's try it. So a little detail I noticed. This is the original with these little pins that go through. And that's what was broken on mine. This new one has little screws. I think I like that better. All right, guys, jumping ahead, didn't really film it, but as you can see, I took the bed of the truck off. Reasons, there is some rust issue. There's actually not as much as I thought, just mainly on the tail ends. I've already hit this with a wire wheel, some of it. And some rust up in there. So my goal is to get basically from the cab back just the frame and the top of stuff that I can't reach later. I'll do like the driveline axle later, that kind of thing, leaf springs. But I want to get just this frame primed and painted out. The real problem is the bottom of the bed, and I'll show you when I flip it up. But the bottom of the bed is kind of where the real rust is. And so my goal is to get that cleaned, prime painted, get the bed back off. Unfortunately, this is my daily driver to work and back, so I've got to work quickly. So it's going to probably make for not very much filming. Once I get that bed back on, then when the bed is back on in place, I'll work on the two rust places where I got to weld in new metal in, you know, various dents and stuff like that. That'll be a later project. So this is the kind of stuff I'm finding kind of all over this thing. Missing a bolt. This one's not even tight. At some point, I don't know if that's going to show up. We've got fluids leaking. I'm gonna have to check on that eventually, but not now. All right, so the game plan here is to, well, I wire wheeled everything, chiseled at it. Now I am using, and there is a mix of vinegar and water, and I'm going over that, trying to clean everything the best I can. It's not going to be perfect. The key is it has to be done today. I was at Napa, forgot to get shocks, so that's going to be another wasted trip to go get shocks. I'll show you what I'm using. And I'm going to use this stuff on the underneath of the bed and on the frame. It's just a truck bed type paint. And I'm going to hit it with primer. And then for the heavy spots, I do have some spray that is supposed to convert rust that I'll use in kind of the heavy rusted spots. I don't know what else to do. I mean, short of sandblasting, what do you do? So I got a coat of primer on this. If I can just get that. I got these parts here. I'm gonna clean with vinegar water. I've wire wheeled them. Got the underside of the bed I've wire wheeled. I'm afraid it's not going to turn out kind of as good as I'd like, but I'm out of time. This has to be sitting in primer today. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Alrighty, next day. That's where we left off. Got the new shocks on. They're just kind of the stock ones that Napa had. They're nothing special. They are a lot sturdier than kind of what was on there. Only because the others were worn out. I do have to fix a little ground that broke right there. On that loom, I've got bare wires. So I've got to address that. I don't know how well this is going to hold up. I really don't. Stuff's not that cheap. There again, you know, like I was saying, it's bed liner. Show you where I'm at today. I have wire wheeled and hit with 60 grit sandpaper on the whole surface, but concentrating mostly on the rust. I'm kind of didn't pay much attention to the like that area and then right here, because I'm going to replace those. I have hit everything with vinegar water twice, scrubbing. I just rinsed it off. I'm kind of working on drying it now. Once I dry it, I'm gonna let kind of hit everything with, I'm using rubbing alcohol as a degreaser. Then I'm gonna let this dry real well, prime it and paint it and be done. While I have this bed off, I would like to mix up, either get some of that fluid film or mix up some diesel and oil while the bed's upside down and just coat this whole entire thing so that oil gets way up in the sides of the bed. Yeah, let me get to it. So that's pretty much it cleaned. I mean, I just keep going. They had kind of a light dusting of that red paint. This truck has been repainted, and I think I just keep taking a little bit off at a time. You can see where more gray pops through. So I'm gonna try to get a close in if I can find a good spot. So you can see all these bumps. And basically those are little air pockets of rust, or I should call them rust pockets, not air pockets. The problem with this is obviously I can't get in these channels. So, you know, basically oil and just oiling the heck out of it is going to be my friend. There's just, if you want to do it right, do not do it this way. I see all these videos on YouTube where, you know, people hit their vehicle with a wire wheel while it's, you know, nothing taken apart, and voila, they hit it with some of that rubberized coating, which I would never use. That stuff's terrible. And it looks nice, you know, and even all this effort, it's gonna look nice, but it's just not gonna last. Maybe at best you prolong the bed of the truck, at best. I don't even say that, but what do you do? Short of having a sandblaster, which I think I'm highly gonna start looking for an air compressor that will run my sandblaster. And at some point I do have to paint this whole truck. So I did get the bolt that was missing on the steering arm. I think at some point I am going to take this bumper off where this is pushed in and try to pull that out and just use this fender. I should be able to do that, but not with the bumper on. That's a later date. I am going to use this same bed liner coating, and because I got a brand new back bumper, and I'm going to spray the underside, the inside of that chrome bumper, because when they chrome them, they don't really concentrate on the inside, and it's just paper thin, or just a dusting really, and they start rusting immediately. So I'm gonna let this dry for a bit, air dry, and start priming it. There's just nothing else I can do. So guys, I kind of already messed up. I started priming over there. Forgot I bought this rust treatment. So I was gonna hit all the rusty bits with rust treatment. So whatever, it'll be a good test to see how that holds up versus this side here. I've used this before, and to be honest, I don't know that it works all that well, but it's one of those things, if you don't do it, then you feel like you didn't do everything you could. So it's supposed to turn basically rusty spots like that black, and when it turns black, supposedly rust is supposed to be dead. I don't know, we'll try it. All right, so I got this primed. This is probably where I'm gonna leave it for the day. Maybe first thing tomorrow morning, put the black bed liner on it, and then start to get this back on the truck. Got to fix some wiring, but basically this has got to be good and ready to go tomorrow. Didn't bother priming those sections on either side, because that's all going to get cut out. that's it. So it's early the next day, and I'm getting ready to set this bed up on the pickup. I actually painted this really late last night with a light. And I'll tell you, that stuff doesn't go far. I wish I had some more cans. That's 6 cans right there. Yeah. Anyway. So before I get this bed on, while I can reach all this, there was an old repair done here. And I don't have any wiring issues, but why it's left like this, I don't know. No clue. So I'm just, it's almost like this wide off somewhere. Or went to a ground or something, I just don't know. So I gotta try to look into that. I have a random ground wire that, I mean, the wire looks kind of fresh. So I'm not sure where this grounded to. This wire, which I added, I had to drill out what was there. Added this wire. I believe that grounded to the top of the bed. This wire, I believe, doesn't look like anything's been plugged in there for a very long time. So I believe that this was just a dangling wire. That wire was taped off. That wire, don't know. I mean, this is just an absolute mess. So, one thing at a time. Going to clean this up. They were out of the right size of wire loom that I needed. So, we're gonna improvise and use this. We just fold it in on itself and tape it. As you can see, got the bed sitting up there. Got to bolt it on, do all the wiring. Put the license plate lights in there, put the license plate on. I was looking at this tailgate. I don't know if it's going to show up. Yeah, so I got some rust there. And some there. That's fixable, but not right now. So for now, I'm hitting it with, I wire wheeled it, hit it with some of that rust converter, and I'm just gonna hit it with primer and probably that bed liner. Unfortunately, guys, I got like 2, sometimes 3 days to work on this, and then it's back to work. So yeah, so we're gonna work on all that wiring mess there. Probably just zip tie it up. So I got this beauty in the mail, chrome one. As you can see, like most things on my truck, that's broken. This one was originally black. I thought we'd step it up since I'll have a new chrome bumper. So let's see if we can't get this working finally. Wonder how many years this didn't work. So then, what they did, instead of just replacing it, they took the inside panel off, of which I did get one, but I got no screws to put that on yet. And I think it needs a little bit of work done first. But At least I was able to find that. Those are not easy to find, apparently. Nice. So I think the next thing to do is to run my wiring back because it Y's off. And I have no clue which is the left and the right as far as the wiring loom. So I'm gonna run those back, hook them up to the tail lights so that I can check them before I hook everything up. And once I get all that dialed in, then I'll grab the old zip ties and we're just gonna zip tie all this wiring up for now. And kind of go from there. I'm gonna leave the back bumper off for a couple reasons. I still wanna coat the inside with that bed liner, you know, spray the inside of the bumper. Plus, I don't wanna put the bumper on until I get these back panels on both sides fixed and repaired, because otherwise I'm just gonna have to take it on and off. And also, I finally found my torch, but I gotta get this, see if I can get it here. Damn sun, man. Right there. This ball hitch has been rusted on for who knows how long. I've beat on the thing. I'm gonna have to heat it up. Some people say, why not leave it? Well, I'll tell you, it really bothers me. So I want it to come on and off. And that's what we're gonna do. Then we are going to wire wheel, de-rust, prime, and paint that whole entire assembly. Then we'll put it in place. That's kind of how I'm gonna go with this truck, being it's a daily driver, is one tiny little thing at a time. That's all I can do. Check this out, guys. Got that in the mail. Yet another thing that has been broken. They must have, because the key does not work in here. I've sprayed all sorts of shit in here. You look at it close, it's kind of all kind of dented. It just does not work. So I got this, and what they did is just took the, this part off. So I got this one. What's gonna suck about it is it's not gonna be keyed the same, but it is what it is. I'd rather have it locking than just flopping around. All right, I got that on there. It seems a little bit loose, so I don't know if I like that. It does click close, locks, boom. So I've got some of this stuff here. I'm just trying to shoot the whole can down the tailgate. The can's not full, so it's not like it's a whole can, but my theory is they probably had this off for quite some time, and then the rain goes in there and it's causing that to rust out. I mean, I get it, it gets water anyway, but so I'm gonna put the rest of this can in there, and then in my box of Toyota bolts, I'm gonna see if I can't find enough just to get this on there so that in the rain going down the road, it's not just flying in there. So this wiring in here is so bad, it's probably been cobbled together multiple times. This here and then this one right there, those two are for the license plate lights, but this one stretches over and fits in that light. But that light, this one, no matter how I pull the wire, no longer stretches and reaches that light, which is odd. I cannot figure it out. I'm gonna hook it up however I have to for now, and then I think on a separate isolated project at a later date, I'm gonna get some wire and just literally at the back of the cab rewire all the way back to avoid all this kind of crap. You don't need to do that kind of crap just to add one of these plugs. It's ridiculous. So all this will go bye-bye eventually. So for now, it's just this one red wire that is keeping it from pulling back. These, I don't know what they ever went to. Doesn't seem like they've gone to anything for a long time. So I'm just gonna cut this red one, lengthen it so I can do what I need to do for now. Just a temporary fix. So I got all the lights working except for the license plate lights, but to be honest, I don't know that those ever worked. One thing I've not hooked up is any of the ground wires that go to frame. That could be why they don't work. Don't know. I am going to give this thing a bath, and then who knows. I'm trying to think of order of operation here. I probably need mud flaps so I don't get pulled over. Let's give it a bath first. All right, so I'm going to end this video. It really is not an informative, just sort of what I've been wasting my time doing. So got basically the frame and the underneath of the pickup bed all primed and painted with bed liner. I've got some wiring to figure out. I think they're basically grounds. I'm not too worried about it because the wiring works at this point. And I intend to rewire it from about there back anyway, because they have it a mess. So we got that on, brand new. We got this temporary in here until I can get more screws. We got that on. Emergency brake is now tightened and works. Windshield washer fluid reservoir has a new grommet, so it actually holds the fluid. New dome light that actually works. And I think that's it, really. I can't put my mud flaps on, so hopefully I don't get pulled over, because the bolts all broke. The top ones anyway, all broke to get them off. So now I have to drill them and easy out them. Got it all bathed and as clean as it's probably been in a long time. That's it on this video.